Well, good morning or good evening, friend. It is once more time for some bourbon and blues. This is a nameless voice, and I am the all high potentate of the First Church of Nothing But the Truth. And our sermon today is about people being virtuous, moral, compassionate, and all around good, and the Christians that protest them. Yeah, I decided to shake the dust off by coming out swinging. So it's dropped out of the news because this was about 6 months ago or so. But there's a group of Theravada Buddhist monks walking across the United States to promote peace. Not only peace in the world, but inner peace, inner character, the discipline of your mind. There's a website for tracking their progress here. And the website has several linked articles handling subjects about how to alter your daily routines to bring about more peace in your life. A brief aside here, Kelly, you might want to read those. If you know, you know. My own martial arts experience has made me appreciate what mental practices Buddhism has preserved, particularly the Zen branch of that tree. I often quip to those that are ignorant of Buddhism that can be viewed as kind of, for Westerners, a kind of stoicism with more of a focus upon compassion. And in the Zen examples, self-aware humor. The main Buddhist practice is to cease doing harm, both to yourself and others, and to spend time thinking about your actions and refining your character through sitting still and just being present. Compassion for others is highly emphasized, as well as nonviolent resolution to conflict. So I know what you're asking. Who would have a problem with that? Well, as it turns out, the answer is fundamentalist Christians. The march was interrupted near Walton County, that's kind of near Monroe, Georgia, by a Baptist protester who showed up and tried to interrupt the monks at a public speaking engagement, blasting his version of the gospel through a bullhorn in an attempt to prevent the main monk from being heard by the crowd. He slandered them as being, and I quote, drunkards, thieves, and liars, and demanded they turn their hearts towards Jesus. If you know, you know. The fault with his statement is that he is obviously ignorant of Theravada vows. These prevent a monk from imbibing intoxicants, possessing any personal wealth, and place an emphasis upon right speech and right action, which lying would clearly violate. So in short, he's acting the fool. In response to the outburst, the senior monk spoke about how to deal with anger. Then this protest sort of happened again near Hope, Georgia, where a Baptist pastor outside his church confronted the group. I'm sorry, that was Bethany. If I remember the sign correctly, it happened near Bethany. In New Hope, you actually had a whole group holding signs, chanting slogans, their spokesperson yelling things about, you have to have Jesus to go to heaven. Without Jesus, you have no actual peace. It's all a lie. Without Jesus, you have no escape from damnation. Your soul's going to burn forever. You're helping other people go burn forever because you're giving them a path other than Christianity to pursue. And you're being a tool of the devil. Now, I grew up as the son of a pastor of a Pentecostal church that did everything but snake handle. I was sent to a Mennonite school for my education. I nearly became a Franciscan monk in my adulthood. What I'm trying to tell you is I know a thing or two about Christianity. And nowhere have I ever read of Jesus encouraging Christians to be jerks. And yes, that includes the Temple riot story. That was talking about something else. But lately, it seems in the American experience, Christians are becoming quite fond of jerks, acting big and tough in public, trying to provoke debates over everything. Sometimes it gets even some kind of minutia. Getting to the point of demanding people stop associating with non-Christians. The Nick Fuentes Christ is King test comes to mind. Candace Owens' sudden vehement hatred of Jews. Tucker Carlson turning upon anyone Jewish and insisting that they're not actually American. Yes, that's what he's trying to do. These are all signs of that. And in my personal life, I've been routinely accosted by many well-meaning fundamentalists and evangelicals who are convinced that they have the right words that no one else has ever been received of to convert me back to their point of view of what God wants and what God demands. And when I point out that I speak better biblical Greek and Hebrew than they do, and that much of what they're saying about just the New Testament is wrong. For instance, most fundies don't know and won't accept once you tell them that over half of Paul's letters weren't actually written by him. And I keep running into fundies that believe that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John actually wrote those Gospels, when we know they didn't. They had died before those things ever started circulating. Make no mistake, this phenomenon I've just described, it's born of ego. And that's kind of what Buddhism is teaching you to mitigate. So it's no wonder that the fundies saw this and freaked out, even though they don't understand why. The fundamentalists and evangelical Christians in the United States today are feeling a kind of social pinch. They've lost a great deal of social power in the media, in cultural institutions, and definitely amongst the youth. They've been trying to prevent this ever since Falwell's moral majority back in the 70s, right? Late 70s? They've been attempting to regain this idea of a Christian-only United States. Now, they'll never actually say that in public unless there also happen to be racists or fascists, such as, what's his name, Webben? But once you start talking what they actually believe, you will quickly see that they are a little bit misogynistic, wanting to take away women's right to vote and make them dependent upon men. They are not in favor of any interracial romantic attachments. They are racist, at least in that regard. And they would throw any non-Christian into at least a second-class citizen, if not out of the United States. In short, this way of thinking demands that everyone believe and profess as they do. Yet often, they don't actually act on their belief. So when a bunch of monks from a religion whose founder was quoted as saying, and granted this is a paraphrase, but this captures the intent, it's not that I don't believe in the gods, I just don't find them very useful. And those same monks are taking an action in the physical world that is inspiring those that behold it to be more virtuous and compassionate, whereas the fundy street preacher spouts on the corner thumping his Bible and often gets ignored. Your average fundy or Evo pastor is going to get, well, what's the word? Envious. Their ego has been challenged. They have the one true God. They have the truth. Why won't people believe them? Why, it must be man's sinful nature and the devil's children of that other religion. We must take action to save their souls. We must seize power and pass laws that prevent non-Christians from holding office, and church attendance be mandatory. We'll make them obey for their own good. Sounds a lot like Islam, doesn't it? And before you think I'm making all that up, that's exactly what people like Webben have advocated for the United States. There's a very famous video of Sean Voigt, I think is his name, Voigt. Big redheaded, curly-haired Christian performer / speaker saying that he only wants Christians in office. All laws should be Christian laws. Right? And while I don't approve of those people in Canada about throwing smoke bombs into a speaking event, his ideology would basically make anyone who's not Christian at least a second-class citizen. Now, we see the same behavior spreading through politics. We saw it when Vivek Ramaswamy was called to his face, well, you're a member of demonic religion, why should I trust you, by a Christian protester during the presidential campaign. By the way, Vivek is currently on track to possibly be the next governor of Ohio, and I hope he wins. And with the various Christian influencers who had a problem with Harmeet Dillon, a Sikh lady, giving a Sikh prayer at the end of the RNC's first night. It didn't matter to the Christians that Dillon's religion is also monotheistic and that she has done more for the Republican National Congress than any of them probably have. Oh no, she's not a believer. So there's a phenomenon that I call the Jesus stamp, in which if any activity, person, or pastime is not officially endorsed by their church, the fundee or Evo will believe it to automatically at least be sinful, if not possibly demonic. This impulse threatens to wreck conservatism from being the dominant political philosophy of the next century. It doesn't matter that those who require the Jesus stamp, let me rephrase that. It doesn't matter to those that require a Jesus stamp upon your soul that many non-Christians are conservative. Politically, they want to preserve American culture as they see it, which of course means it must be Christian. And so those people who are obsessed with the presence of the stamp would argue that Ben Shapiro, Dennis Prager, and Shmuley Boteach aren't true Americans or true conservatives because they're Jewish. Despite Ben Shapiro having probably founded the #1 podcast for conservative values in the world, The Daily Wire, despite Dennis Prager accurately and articulating, citing not only conservative but biblical values to the public for now, 30 years on radio and public speaking engagements? And Shmuley Boteach standing up to vehement anti-Americanism throughout his career as a rabbi. Nope, not good enough. You don't have the cross. Doesn't matter how much these gentlemen have contributed to American liberty. They're not Christians, therefore they can't be trusted. That's how this thinking goes. These same fundamentalists and Evos would be offended by any conservative living their life freely if it differs from the fundie paradigm in any way, such as the hatred Blair White gets for being a trans woman, yet also professing Christianity. She has her own kind of faith on that. Well, the last I checked, weren't we guaranteed that by the First Amendment? Then there's the contributions of the aforementioned Ramaswamy, and of Kash Patel, and of the wife of the current Vice President of the United States, Usha Vance. Because of them being members of a different religion, Hinduism, despite all the work they've done for the United States, it doesn't matter to the fundie. Even though the fundie's contributions to the safety, security, and wealth of the United States probably don't compare. Now, I understand that if you're listening to this, and you happen to be Christian, you're committed to the religion, and you believe that you have the one true path to escape damnation. Again, I was raised in this. And while I could challenge that belief, what I will do instead is leave you with this thought. Each individual already chooses what to believe. Free will. And you are only obligated by the Great Commission to inform them that you think they are wrong. Why then are you turning a blind eye to people, taking the Great Commission and twisting it into an excuse to be aggressive, seek domination of society, and ultimately expulse all those who won't conform with how they feel Christianity should be practiced? It should disturb you, because what I just described is the modus operandi of Islam. With that, I'm going to go lace my Americano with a heap of wild turkey, light a Padron, and listen to Maggie Corner sing about neutral ground.